Alright, just a quick video. Going to do this in one take because people were asking about the Libra Cup. It's honestly not that it's not that complicated. It's just a really difficult one to actually get optimal, but you will not need to have completely optimal Umas this run because no one's going to be able to hit everything that's required for this. Libra Cup is happening about 2 to 3 weeks after Virgo Cup ends here. It's going to be Kyoto 3000, fall, firm, and right-handed. And so there are your green skills on the right. There's a couple more. Of course, outer post always works half the time. Long shot, lone wolf, stuff like that. But those are the 6 that'll happen all the time. And so your ideal stats, you've probably seen this around. Yeah, you're not hitting this unless you're a massive uber whale and high roll. A lot of content creators for some reason are pushing these stats and even 1100 power plus. You will see probably one of these that does it, and you will lose to it, and you can just move on. You're not hitting this. It's fine. And the reason why 1150 is so that you can run 1 stamina spark, 1 stamina gold recovery, because you can use those skill points for different acceleration skills. So what you should go for that's realistic is 900 stamina with 2 gold recoveries, possibly a third if you want more consistency, 1100 speed, and then your stretch one to really go for is 901 power. Reason being is power and wit are the 2 speed bonuses for this CM, and you can get a max of 4 as far as I know. So everything 300 plus after 1 for power or wit will count. You will get 300 wit just naturally, and power is the much more important stat. If you can get to 400 wit, that's nice, but we're going to all struggle with getting our speed, stamina, and power up. It's the equivalent between 600 or 899 to 901. The equivalent of it is basically getting a long S spark, which I would also really suggest getting to because the final spurt is incredibly long on this CM as well. So again, your realistic goals, try to get over 1100 speed. 1200 speed is amazing if you can hit it. Stamina, 900 plus, 1000 is nice, but again, we're going to be struggling here. Maybe pick up another white recovery skill if you can. Stretch for as much power as you can. 901 will give you essentially a long S addition to it. So if you get those 3 plus a long S, you're in incredible shape. So the Kyoto track. The Kyoto track is recently revamped, and the big thing that they added was there's essentially this downhill here. So a couple of things. Early uphill. So as soon as we start out, there's going to be an uphill. So Highlander, especially for front runners, is going to be important because it essentially isn't a free early lead as well. Not required. It's just an alternative to early lead or to your groundworks as well. There is a downhill now. This is brand new. This used to not happen on Kyoto, but there is now a downhill at 777. And so especially end closer, what's that one? After school spurt from Gold Ship. That is an innate recovery that works. And it procs, this is late enough that it won't mess with it. If it procs on the first round, you'll get full recovery from it. The big one is that there's a corner very early in the late spurt. And your end spurt here at the red is so far down that red shift and shooting for victory just simply don't work. They happen too early, and your acceleration starts right when the red starts, slightly before it. So red shift, shooting for victory, anything that looks for a late corner, the first late corner, is not going to work, unfortunately. Let's Pump Some Iron does work because it goes and looks for the last corner no matter what. It is not as effective as it normally is because you see how far back the 4th corner is on this. The last thing to note is the final spurt is on a straight, so straightaway acceleration skills that are not straightaway acceleration, so we're talking straightaway spurt, essentially for end closers, will work. You really only need 1 or 2 accelerations, and you'll find because we're spending so many skill points on recoveries, that's really all you're going to have. So what to do this CM? You need to hit your stats. That's the number 1 most important thing. You need to grab at least one acceleration that works. The easiest one to grab on everyone that is not a front runner. I don't know front runner stuff, but for gamblers, No Stopping Me is the cream of the crop. That's the best gold acceleration skill. We're learning from Virgo Cup that it's just No Stopping Me RNG is kind of what wins you the races. You need 2 recovery skills. If you can do 2 recoveries in a white, that's good. If you can do 3 recoveries, you can go and dip your stamina a little bit, but start with 2 recovery skills and go from there. If you want a little bit easier, I highly suggest running Umas with inbuilt recoveries. We're talking gold ships. We're talking Oguri Cap pace chasers. We're talking our rice showers, those ones. RNG for long S, I think is, I'm not going to say it's required. It's going to help you a lot for the reason, and the reason is twofold. One, a lot of people aren't going to have long S, and you automatically beat them like 75% of the time if you have long S and the same stats and they don't. The second one is if you, for some reason, don't have enough stamina and you have long S, the highest threshold you can hit is 0.1 meters per second lower than your final spurt. And with long S, your final spurt is higher. And so you have a small chance with your wit stat to hit the second highest possible speed value, or the final spurt speed. And so sometimes if you have long S and you don't have enough stamina and you die, right, you may still have enough speed to finish the race. The final thing is more important than anything else this CM than any CM before. You need strong blue sparks, especially this CM, because the stat requirements are so high for this one that your blue sparks and then secondarily your pink sparks, they matter a massive amount this run. What not to do. You cannot afford to weaken your deck to have a guaranteed skill. If you have that 1LB or 0LB SSR, it's not going to work this time. You may have pulled for Nice Nature SSR Wit, a 0LB version of that just to get Gold Slick Surge on your left. Unfortunately, that's going to weaken your deck way too much. The same thing goes for running. I see a lot of people for some reason running ZLLB Tokai Tail for Rushing Gale just because it combos with Rico's Rushing Gale and gives you a lot of discounts on the same card. It doesn't work because you're losing way too much speed. And when you lose speed, it means you have less stamina and power taps to hit the rest of the stuff. So even if you can hit 1200 speed still with, like, let's say a Kitasan and Sweep and then a 0LB speed card, it's still better just to get your 3 strongest speed cards so that you can stop tapping speed as early as possible and start tapping your stamina and start tapping your power, because you need to hit those other stats too. You don't need to be running more than 1 or 2 extra races. This is why Oguri Cap is probably incredibly strong this CM, because she has built-in flexibility on which races you can do. If you're running more than like 2 or 3 extra races, you're doing something wrong in general this CM, because you have Rico to pass turns. That's his main function, is just to pass the bad turns and get to the good turns. And also, you're losing on your training, what are they called? Your speed, power, stamina training level ups on your training spots by racing. Racing's not horrible. It gives you some stats. If you have to do it, it's the only thing to do. Go for it. You really only need 1 or 2 extra races. That being said, you need to hit that 75k FanFest, because your innate skill, almost every innate skill that isn't an acceleration skill, will work at least as a mid-race skill. Especially on people like Gold Ship. Any speed ones that are mid-race speed skills, because the mid-race is so long, it just helps your positioning so much. You need those as max level as possible. So hit that 75k FanFest. You need 75,000 fans by senior April. If you're going and you have this massive 15 white parent that is only like 3 or 5 or even 6 blue sparks total, it's not as good as just running a very high blue and pink sparks. Use the UmaDB, find a 9 blue, 8 or 7 pink long spark and run it. Even if it is the number 1 best Uma with a skill for your style. Unless I think fronts need angling and scheming still. Nothing else, no white skill matters more than the blues and pinks this round. You can't completely dump Guts this time either, because of the dueling system, and also because Guts directly translates into extra stamina. You really need at least 400 Guts this round, which is going to require 1 or 2 taps. And so when you're in your first year, mostly you want to go and look at the highest number of blue explosion, the team member stat increases, even over possibly not hitting that massive friendship gauge ones. And even if it's on a Guts, it's good. Like, you need 2 or 3 Guts taps just to get that above the threshold, because Guts is going to still give you speed and power, and it's still going to give you some stamina effectiveness. Good speed and stamina cards, the cream of the crop is going to be Kittison Black and Biko Pegasus. After that, your best, highest MLB gold one, your highest MLB gold speed cards are going to be your best options. And then there is an honorable mention to gold ship welfare card speed. And that is because it gives innate experience. So if you are a gambler, it does give innate experience. And there's a couple of strategies that utilize gold ship SSR speed. It is a very high risk, high reward because she has no specialty priority. And again, remember from above, what not to do. Do not weaken your deck to have guaranteed skills. Only use gold ship if it's either the strongest card you have, so you don't have any MLB SSRs, or you have like a Kittison Black plus a Sweep Tosho, or you have a Sweep Tosho plus an Ishin Flash that's completely maxed out, and you have enough speed to be able to RNG your life away basically for an innate experience plus some high rolls on gold chip. Your stamina cards, it's going to be Super Creek. The Whale deck has Super Creek plus Rice Shower in it because it's so strong. Ideally, you have a fully maxed out Manhattan Cafe. She gives just so much stamina output. Otherwise, surprisingly enough, a low SSR Satono Diamond will work. Even at 0 LB, the card's actually kind of decent. If you have a 2 or 3 LB just from running the old Kittison Black, this is actually a pretty good time for it to shine. The only problem is there's no training effectiveness on it, so it only gives stamina. So you'll probably only be using her in double stamina decks. Other honorable mentions, pretty much any other gold SR staminas. MLB My Out of Top Gun is equal to a 2LB Super Creek without friendship bonus or Swinging Maestro, which is a lot worse, but you do what you can. And then, of course, the 2 welfare cards. Majira McQueen gives a 50-50 for cooldown if you're into the 50-50 gamble. I personally try not to use it as much as possible, but it is there, and it is an easy way to get that third or second recovery. But you are gambling a 50-50 for it, because if it doesn't hit, you've done a much worse stamina card. And like I said before, do not weaken your deck to have guaranteed skills. Run the strongest one possible, stats above all. So the standard deck that you've probably seen from you probably haven't seen from content creators because they're running whale decks, is the 3-2R, as I call it, or the 3 speed, 2 stamina, and Rico. What this does is essentially it gives you 1200 speed, it gives you a lot of stamina, and it gives you Rico for your passing of turns. The whale version of this, again, runs Tokai Teo along with Rico so that you get Rushing Gale at a very cheap rate because they both give a massive amount of hints for the same thing. Kittison and Biko, very good cards, and Satono Diamond and Super Creek for the same reason. And you're running those cards because you are going to be hitting stamina a lot and you're going to be hitting speed a lot, so it doesn't matter the training effectiveness as much because you're trying to hit those 2 at the same time. Okay? If you have Kittison and Creek, you want to borrow Biko Pegasus because it gives you the possibility on 20% speed characters to go down to 2 speeds and use it for a power or something else. But also, even if you don't, it makes it super comfy to have Biko, Kittison, and a very strong speed card because you will hit 1200 speed. It's just simple as that. If you do not have Creek, If you do not have Creek, borrow Creek. If you do not have Kittison, borrow Kittison if you have one or the other. And essentially, this is kind of what I think the baseline decent free-to-play deck would be. It's Kittison Black, borrowing Super Creek with some sort of combination of Sweep Tosho, Aishin Flash, or King Halo, or Shinko Windy. I don't think Shinko Windy is as good because it's race bonus, but don't quote me on that. And then a Manhattan Cafe on the other side. Things to look for in this one. Notice how there are 0 characters that do not have initial training gauge of 0. Because of the nature of this one, even though you're training a lot, you want those as high as possible. So that's why MTG Stamina SR is not as good, because she starts with 0 friendship training bonus. If for some reason you don't have Kittison at all, which I understand the Kittison banner's coming up, but it just kind of shows how important this card is, you need to borrow Kittison. It's that strong. You're going to really struggle this round, but it is possible to either go 3 SR golds speeds. So if you have 3 MLB SR golds, use those, or borrow Kittison, use Sweep Tosho, King Halo, and then your staminas are going to suffer. You need to start 50-50ing for cooldown on Measure McQueen, Welfare, and then a Manhattan Cafe as well, and then you're using Rico. MLBR Rico is just fine. 1LB is just fine as well for that. Okay, we're going to get to a little bit more advanced stuff, the next level, a little bit more risky. Oh, sorry, like I said, you can swap in Gold Ship in any of these top 2, I'd say, because it's a little bit of RNG. But like, let's say I've seen a couple whale decks where you use Kittison, Biko, and then Gold Ship as the third one, because you can afford to do that, and it gives you innate experience, which is the best skill for gamblers in the game right now. Or you swap out King Halo for him too, and you're just kind of high rolling, and your consistency goes down a lot, but high rolls win game. A little bit more risky, a little bit more high rolly, a little bit more advanced. This is you will have more runs that fail from this, and they require speed sparks. I didn't talk about sparks, sorry. Power sparks are 100% required. You have 0 power cards in this deck, and you need to hit that 901. So you need as much power sparks as possible. Your secondary is speed and stamina just to help out. Okay. We're switching over a little more advanced to swapping out the Super Creek. Now, this is what the original intention, I think, of Psy Games was for the CM, is that you need to leverage Rico and Rice Shower to essentially get the stamina buffs required. What's really important is your sparks are now in stamina. So if you have a lot of stamina parents that are very good and not a lot of power parents which are very good, which is probably most of us, because URA Finale was all about stamina sparks, I'd suggest trying this at the very least. The whale deck basically is just use Kittison, Biko, and then 3 power cards, the best in slot, including Rico, and then using Rico and Rice as well. Rice will give you Swinging Maestro, and you can either tap over to cooldown using Rice's Scenario Link, or you can use an innate ability for your second gold recovery skill. Most of us do not have all this stuff, though, so I would suggest, if you have Kittison and Rice Shower, which is what my account has, I was lucky enough to get a 3LB Rice. I did not get Rico luck. I would borrow Biko Pegasus. This is the version that I use. Kittison, Biko, and then 3 power cards. Notably, I like to use Biwa Haide because she has 15% training effectiveness. So when she roams on speed, she is very, very helpful. Whereas Hishi Amazon, even though she has stronger power output, she does not have as much of a impact when she's not roaming on power. And you will tap power quite a lot, but you will struggle with speed in characters that don't have 20%. So if you have anything that's 10% or lower, like an El Condor Pasa Fantasy or something like that, you really, really need some training effectiveness on your non-speed cards. The essence of the theory around this is that you're running power cards with stamina bonus, and because all your speed cards have training effectiveness, if they all run on power, you are basically doing a stamina tap. So that plus Rico will give you the stamina required. If you do not have Kittison and Rice Shower, borrow Rice Shower. Rice Shower is pretty much required for this strategy. Even if you have to use a lower Rico, borrow Rice Shower. This is an example. If you don't have Kidison Black, I think you can actually do this with three SRs on a 3 SR speed cards on a 20% speed character, such as Oguri Cap. You will lose a little bit of power. You also will need some sort of stamina bonus on your character as well. If you don't have Kidison, I'd suggest borrowing Kidison, and I guess I clicked Hishi Amazon twice, but use Biwa Aide and Hishi Amazon as your 2 power cards for this, and then run your 3 strongest speed cards. You will have very low guts in this build, so your secondary stats ideally are guts. And if you aren't hitting speed requirements, instead get stamina sparks with speed as your minor. So guts is kind of the luxury, speed is if you can't hit speed with this. So Windows 302R or 203R work. 203R works if you have good cards and you have 20% speed aptitude on your character. So your Guri Caps, your El Condor Pasa originals, stuff like that. Your 302Rs are going to work with characters with power aptitude and stamina aptitude. We're talking Vodka obviously doesn't have long. She has problems with long. You have to get lucky with Sparks, but you can run her. Trying to think of another one that has power. Winning Ticket is another one. No one ever runs her because she's bad, I guess. But Winning Ticket has power stamina. Rice Shower has stamina guts, so she has stamina aptitude. If you don't have Kidison, I highly suggest running the strategy only with characters with innate recoveries. Namely, Oguri Cap is a good one for that because she has Gourmand. Rice Shower is a good one because she has cooldown. You can't run Rice Shower when you're running Rice Shower, but it's still strong enough that she has enough stuff going for it because she also gets Kyoto Racecourse green automatically. All right. Whew. All right. So even more advanced. This is probably the most advanced strategy. You may have seen this one. I have done a lot of runs with this. This is honestly the most fun version of it, just because you're just always doing things. This is the double PAL strategy, and I call it 3012P or 312P. And it's essentially, the theory behind this is that you probably have 1 or 2 incredibly good cards and a bunch of cards you're kind of slotting in there because it's not as great. Namely, Super Creek, Rice Shower, Kidison Black. Those are the 3 that you really want to look for. Biko Pegasus as well is fine. The idea of this is you're loading up on a singular training, usually it's speed, and you're making these cards incredibly powerful because you're thinning your deck out and you're training only really on the ones that they are. So you're training on Kidison like almost twice as much as a normal deck because you are chasing Kidison around. You're not just trying to line up 4 or 5. You're not trying to line up 4 or 5 characters. You're trying to line up 3 characters. And then if it's not on 3 characters, you're passing the turn. The whale version of this is there. I think a reasonable version is if you have Kidison Black and Rice Shower, or Kidison Black and Super Creek. You run 3 speed cards, your really good card, and then you run 2 PAL cards. The PAL cards that you're looking for are as follows: a Riko Kashimoto, a Tazuna, or an Aio Kyrian. Oikurian is surprisingly powerful because she gives an incredible amount of skill points and she's essentially a wit card. Tanzana gives an incredible amount of speed and an incredible amount of recovery. You need one of those 2. And then Riko Kashimoto is to up your floor for stamina. Ideally, what happens is if you need energy, you use a Tanzana event. And if you have a bad tap, so if there's no good options around, but you have moderately high energy, you use Riko Kashimoto. So Riko's there if you have high energy and you just need to pass the turn. Tazuna's there to actually refill your energy. And ideally, except for the early game, you don't use the rest button at all. If you don't have any good cards, please don't run this strategy. It will not work. So you need at least an Oikurian MLB SR or a Riko Kashimoto Rare SR, Rare R, to work with this, and you need either Kidison Black, Super Creek, or Rice Shower. You can essentially, I think the lowest I would go is if you have, let's say, Kittison Black and Super Creek. Sorry, the lowest I would go is Kittison Black, Io Kyrian, 2 speed cards, borrowing Super Creek or Rice Shower, and an R Rico max. I think that's the lowest. You need one of the 3 at the very least. So Kittison Black, Super Creek, or Rice Shower. You need one of those, at least 3 LB. What's the theory on this? Pals will amplify your good cards. We talked about this. You need a good card to amplify. A 1 LB Narita Taishin SR won't work this time. And because you have pals, you train more because you don't rest as much. When you train more, you can go and chase around the explosions, which give you a ton of stats. And also they increase your team's overall stat caps, which means that the training facility upgrades happen earlier. And also your friendship gauges increase faster because you're not chasing around 3 of them at once all the time. All pals essentially have scenario links. So even Ayakirian and Tazuna, the main part and the reason why everyone was talking about you need 2 scenario link characters is because they removed the slots from the team. So if you run Rice Shower, she doesn't get a slot. Rice Shower will always come in the game, but if you are running Rice Shower as either a card or an Uma, that slot's taken and you have 14 instead of 15 at the end. So by running an Oikirian, she's not an Uma. If you're running Tazuna, she's supposedly not an Uma. You have the same effect as if you're running Matikane Futikaru as well. So because of this, when you're training, your cards actually appear more because there's less flooding. So if 5 are all in one, your Uma may be the 6th slot and get knocked out. And you also get more blue explosions, as said. And also Tazuna Oi or Energy Regen. Yeah, we talked about this. So you Energy Regen with Tazuna and Oi. So you essentially have 10 turn skips total. You don't need a rest or recreation or anything. So what you're doing is you're rolling for 2 and 3 times friendships, and you're looking for blue explosions and massive 4 and 5 training ups for your team. And of course your mood's always max, so your mood effect cards are incredible as well. The most advanced strat that I haven't been able to fully work, but I got 1 decent Uma from it out of the 4 runs I've done so far, is the gut maxing strat. It's going to be powerful, I think, in the next 6 months, but right now I don't think there's enough stuff for it. If you have the cards, though, it's worth a try. The theory is that if you get 1200 guts in a long race, it's worth 333 bonus stamina because it lowers the multiplier. So if you're running stamina sparks, and I've noticed I say 84, which is 4 out of the 6 strong ones. So if you run 84 stamina sparks and Rico, you get about 500, 600 stamina without having to tap the stamina button at all, really. And so you'll have between 800 and 900 effective stamina. So if you get 2 or 3 gold recoveries, you should have enough stamina to survive. The problem I found with this is the power threshold is incredibly hard. It's a little bit mitigated with power characters, so 20% power affinity characters, or with characters that have, or with running 2 speed cards, sorry. So again, use with Umas with power bonus and innate recoveries, because you're not running Super Creek, you're not running Rice Shower, so you're running cards that don't have innate recoveries on their own, so your Uma needs to have the other one. You will most likely be using Unruffled, which works about half the time, so probably about 2/3 the time if you're lucky. It's essentially Uma-san, but it's on a gold recovery instead. The cards you need for this, a lot of them are welfare cards, though. You have your Rico, an R Rico at least, and then Urara plus Matikani Tannhauser, Mambo's SSR. Those 2 are welfare cards that you might have, hopefully. You would need them MLB if you have it. And if you have a really strong speed card like Kittison or Sweep Tosho, I would run that. The reasoning in running and borrowing Enos Fusion is because Enos Fusion has a speed bonus on it. So weirdly enough, if you actually have all 4 of these, if you have all 4 of these guts cards on the same one and they're all friendship trained, you actually get 65 speed and 100 guts. So it is essentially a speed tap. Play around with this. I haven't really been able to work with this properly, but I've had a good run where I had about 1100 guts, about 850 power, 1200 speed, and like 400 wit. And it was decent. It just kind of was just barely not enough stats. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little more effort into the ones coming up. But the pace chasers, the end closers, and the late surger guides, I'll be taking care of them. Ask Secretariat if you want a front runner guide. I don't really run front runners, so hopefully y'all get runawayed, and so I can actually win the game. Pace chasers are going to be probably the easiest to build, but you have to really have your fundamentals online to hit your stats. Late surges and end closers, they're pretty similar this time. End closers, I think, are stronger because straightaway spurt works, and it's easier to grab straightaway spurt than it is to run Let's Pump Some Iron. And late surgers have a big problem with freaking, I mean, you can't get any recovery, so you're basically running Breath of Fresh Air, Cooldown, and Swinging Maestro. Those are like your only options. And Unruffled, yeah, try Late Surger Guts build is probably what's going to happen. So, yep. Final notes, 80% of people in this team will not be able to hit max speed and enough stamina, and 95% of people will not be able to hit the max speed, the stamina threshold, and 901, 301 thresholds. If you're able to hit that last one, you're going to beat them 2 out of every 3 times. Even if you build a perfect UMA, it's like baseball, the best teams only win 60% of the time. But even if you only hit max speed and enough stamina, you're giving yourself enough that over time you have the chance to high roll into A finals. And if you get all 3, you actually have a pretty decent chance of going 3 out of 5, at least 1 out of 8 times. So what I would say is good luck. It's a really daunting task, the CM, but honestly, I'm just going to scroll all the way up to the top. This champions meeting at 3,000 meters is just going to be tough for absolutely everyone. So if you get burnt out on it, honestly, just get one with good stats and an acceleration and just call it day and let's go next, okay? All right. More videos to come. Take care, guys. Good luck. Burb out.